I was recently reading a book where the author Lynn is telling about the time she excitedly told her oncologist that she wouldn't be seeing him professionally anymore. She was 5 years cancer-free, highly unlikely it would come back, and in her words, "I'm glad that's over." But when she told him this, they said, "Well, hang on, where in the world did you get that idea? Yes, it's highly unlikely it'll come back, but we have to stay vigilant about this thing. You're going to be coming here for checks for the rest of your life." And suddenly, the "I'm glad that's over" became a sobering, deflating realization that this thing's for the rest of my life. I don't have cancer yet, and maybe I'll never have it, but for all of those who share this terminal thing called the human condition, subject to death, we know it's a matter of time. And in our lives, we might have these moments of victory and assurance and celebration that come to find out it's not the kind of forever we had hoped for. It's the same for those of us in the church. I remember a story from my youth. It's a legend in my household by now, but one day playing with a friend, I used the scissors from his fishing tackle box to cut my own hair. When I was angrily confronted by my parents, who saw immediately this missing patch of hair that resulted in a very handsome buzz cut. What happened? Who did this? Without hesitation, I blame my friend. He did it. It was his stuff. I was just there. Poor little old me. I don't know nothing. I'm just a baby. And so my mother angrily gets on the phone, and I'm eaten up with this guilt of getting my friend in trouble for something I did. And after whatever period of time, felt like days, I come clean, said, "Hey, that wasn't him. That was me." Even though I was in trouble, I felt this immense weight lifted off my shoulders. I felt so much more free in my spirit. I actually said out loud, "I am so glad that's over." To which my mother immediately said to me, "Oh, this is not over." Of course, it wasn't. Surprisingly, since then, I've had to keep a watchful eye on the selfish, Christians would call it sinful, inclinations within myself. Right now, we're entering into, and indeed are in, the first week of the season of Advent, where we draw near to Jesus once again, preparing our hearts and our lives to receive the good news of the Christ child, being reminded the incarnation of Jesus in the manger, and the cross, and the empty tomb, and the rest of it. But as we celebrate this triumphant entry into the world as a baby, how absurd would it be to think of a Christian who sits down with their priest or in prayer and triumphantly informs their spiritual mentor or God that, "Good news, I won't have to report to you and confess my sin anymore. I'm so glad that's over." Well, come to find out, it's not that simple. It's not that easy. Yes, we proclaim a victory over sin and death, but turns out this is a journey. And in the Christian walk, as we draw ever nearer to God, develop the discipline that, it's very highly unlikely perhaps, but we never relax as we're living in this world of selfishness, sin, and death. And so it's good news that we do it together. My friend Susan, who had cancer, she passed very recently. She used to talk about having cancer as being a member of a club you never wanted to be in. But once you're there, you discover all of these wonderful people, and it's not that bad when you're with others. How much more so does Christian community and just human community help us in journeying through this life? And so as we enter the season of lights, with the trees and the joy and the presence and the waiting, and as the angels and waiting, groaning creation in the Bible proclaims, "I'm so glad that's over," the powers of sin and death remind us ever so once in a while, this isn't over. Not fully, not in every way. we lean on the good news of God that helps us find victory and peace, even though God's kingdom has not fully come in its fullness. And so I offer you these words when, after the birth of John the Baptist, his father proclaims in the midst of a broken world and in the midst of all their problems that still plague us, by the tender mercy of our God, heaven's dawn will break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet to the way of peace. Lynn, the author who is writing about her cancer journey, ended that chapter with that verse as she talked about finding a peace in her life forward that is meaningful and full and beautiful. And I pray the same for you, friends of grace. And should you like to pursue it together this season, there is a place just for you with people just like you at Grace United Methodist, and we'd be glad to see you come through our doors. Grace and peace. See you around.